In this episode of the RV Small Talk podcast, we invited a friend, a guest, who really gets off the grid into faraway places. We're going to ask him why. Like, what are you thinking? Why would you do that? But also, we're going to ask about his dogs and his equipment, his travel plans, all kinds of things. So if you are at all interested in going way off grid and maybe seeing no people, this is the kind of person you want to connect with. So we brought Tyler Hunter in, and we're going to talk to him. In the meantime, let's get this intro out of the way. Welcome to the RV Small Talk podcast, where we talk about tiny trailers, truck campers, and the people, places, and adventures that go right along with them. We're your hosts from Princess Craft RV. I'm Clint.
I'm PJ.
And I'm sitting next to the human construction cone.
Very bright. Yes. And our guest today is Tyler Hunter, and he can be found online. We'll mention this again later as Texas K-9 Overland, and we're going to cover all that, the Texas part, the K-9 part, and the Overland part. But first, I ran into you first here when I saw your trailer in our shop a few months ago, a better part of a year ago at this point. And I thought, wow, that's a great looking trailer. Fantastic looking rig. And it had evidence of already having been out there. And then I saw you picking up and your truck matched the trailer. So I knew you were in business somehow.
A lot of people's truck matches their trailer, but what you didn't say
really good wrap
is this
graphics.
Trailer is wowza.
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
is orange-ish.
Stunning.
It is very cool. All kinds of geometric shapes, all kinds of stuff on it. Mm-hmm. And then the truck arrives, and it looks just like that. It is so stinking cool.
Right. And it had an Instagram handle, so I was like, I'm going to look that up, just kind of side-eye that. And
I think Texas that was his plan.
Yeah, it worked. See, your branding's working.
Yeah, well, thank you.
So what were we doing for you in our shop?
I had to have some rewiring done.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to do a direct wire into the motor so that I could maximize the charging.
Right, I did that as well.
Like a DC to DC?
Yes.
That's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
And did we do that for you?
You did a great job.
Did we do a good job?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It was going through
just
the pin for a
it's
while.
Not enough.
But I was only getting like 13.2. And so now that I got it direct wired, I'm at like 14.5 all the time.
I love it.
Yeah.
So, DC to DC charger, one of my favorite things I've done.
There's a big difference between 13.2 and 13.5.
Yes, there is.
But that's only like 0.3.
And yet there's a big difference. If you look at your cell phone and you go from a standard 1 amp to a 2 amp charger, it's massive.
It'll charge twice as fast.
And then if you just go 2.3 or 2.6, it's still a massive jump. It's crazy how it works.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like we started in deep here.
Yeah, okay. Let's get
we
out of
just
that.
lost half our listeners right there.
Okay, well, welcome back, listeners. We're going to ask actual thought out questions now.
Let's not put the pressure on, okay?
So can we start with I have not seen your trailer. I'm guessing it's orange because you're orange. But
I'm orange.
What is
You are not orange. Your shirt is orange.
Yes.
Your hat is orange.
Everybody listening, go ahead and head over to our YouTube and see the orange.
Hence the construction cone.
So what trailer is it? What is it?
It's a Boreas XT.
A Boreas XT.
Right. Which is made out of Pueblo, Colorado.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's a solid one.
It's
really
definitely for
nice.
the backcountry explorer.
Overlanding trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. Very good looking.
So where did you come from? Why are you, how did this get started?
We've talked many times about Texas not having any public land to do all this backcountry stuff. So why are you here?
Well,
how do we find you?
TXK9 sounded really good together.
Right. Well, yeah.
Here for it.
The TX is for Texas, and the K9s because I've got my dogs, Duke and Lacy, and they travel with me. And then, of course, the Overland, TX K9 Overland. It was more of a family kind of coming up with the name. My wife, daughter, her fiance, they helped with that. Mm-hmm. And the whole idea of doing Texas K-9 Overland came about because somebody said, well, if you're going to do this, you might as well create an LLC out of it. Because you might
this as in camp?
Well, do this as a potential business in addition to, I'm already going to do it, so you might as well pursue a tax deduction on it.
Yeah.
Because there's quite a few expenses involved.
Yeah.
When it comes
it is
to
like
not an
trailer.
inexpensive
your fuel, your
project.
maintenance, and everything, it adds up quickly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what is the business?
Well, the business is
Give us the business.
the business is really an influencer,
Okay.
if you will.
So you make
Yeah.
videos.
I make videos. I was going to do that anyhow. So it's videography, some drone work, and then posting on Instagram.
Did you hear that, Caitlin?
Which, to my surprise, I'm up to about 14,000 followers. So,
Yeah.
That's so
great.
cool.
I mean, that's really
Does
crazy.
it feel weird knowing that many people are watching
well,
you?
you wonder if is it really that many or, what?
It really is.
But I've got a pretty good community of people that we do talk and communicate. And the Overland community in general is a really good community of people.
This is true.
We're going to dive into all
Very
that.
caring people.
But let's start with the genesis of your camping and how you meandered into the Overland style. What's your background with all this?
Were you a Boy Scout? That's what I want to know.
No, the genesis was after 35 years in corporate America and being in a lot of urban environments, wanting to get out and get away from that type of environment. And
so
really-
What did you do in the corporate
I
world?
worked in biotech industry. Yeah.
Biotech.
It's like tech, but bio.
I don't know what that means.
You know,
Well,
like technology, but bio.
Oh, yeah. You
Well, you could
try
say-
to sound so
I'll
smart,
let you
Lindsay.
explain it out.
I know you have no idea either. Okay.
You could say biotech, you could say big pharma. Basically, I worked in a national account director position.
Okay.
Yeah. Which basically I went out and talked to the big insurance companies that pay for various products and did contracts with them.
Ah,
So that
pharmaceuticals.
right. So they would be available at a particular copay, et cetera, down through the insurance benefit.
Man, that is about as corporate and detailed as it gets. That's
Super urban
I'm really
Super urban.
glad you
Interest-
found the forest.
Yeah.
so
for the trees, obviously.
through all of that corporate life, are you the guy who always went out trekking in the middle of nowhere or always kind of knew that was what you wanted to do? Did you go camping? Were you a tent camper, a backwoods hiker? I mean, when did all
Or was
that
it
start?
one day you're like, I got to get out of here?
I think it started with my motorcycle riding and living in places like West Virginia, which is a very friendly
Beautiful.
state to people
Yes.
who want to ride
Right.
and be off road
Right.
and doing those things. And then after riding for a period of about 10 years, and then
Okay.
with the aging process and a few
Uh-huh.
broken bones, et cetera, I've just transitioned into, well, what can I do in an adventure environment, a backcountry environment, without having to pick up a bike or recover from another spine surgery, kind of thing.
Ooh.
So a few injuries along the way, and I thought, well, I still want to do this. I want to be able to go further, and so it became, let's find a better way to do this that'll carry me, in the long term.
So how old were you when you started like saying, hey, I want to buy a camper and go have some adventures?
Really, mid 40s,
Okay.
yeah, late 40s.
So you saying there's still time?
There's still time. Yeah.
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 Well, a lot of people are saying, I don't know anything about that, so I couldn't do it. I'm not that guy. But why couldn't they be that guy?
I mean, I go to the Overland Expo events, which are four of the big ones in the United States. And I meet people of all ages, and I meet men and women in their 70s, early 80s, still out there
Yes.
adventuring in this environment.
Right.
And it's great.
So
I think it's very
have,
healthy.
You don't really have any background in the more traditional sense of RVing. You were already, you're like, I do adventure motorcycling, which is off the beaten path. It's trails,
right.
it's Forest Service roads. It's not state park and prepared campgrounds.
I went from dual sport motorcycle riding on a BMW GSR 1200, and there you had all of your gear by yourself or with a friend, hopefully for safety, and you were out in it. And so to continue that, the overlanding in an off-grid trailer was just a normal thing for
Very
me
similar
to
locations.
transition to.
Just a different type of stability to get there.
Yeah.
A little safer in four wheels.
Yeah.
And easier to pack the dogs.
And what's-
Much easier to
yeah.
take the dogs. Those
yeah.
little legs kept getting so tired.
You didn't want to try a Ural with a sidecar? Bring your dogs in the sidecar?
Aww. So I bet. So you decide to start going, out camping. I bet your shopping for a trailer took some time. How did
the
you
whole
shop?
what do I want thing.
Yeah. How did you shop for a trailer, and how did you decide on the The
Boreas.
Boreas XT.
Boreas XT.
Yeah.
Good one.
I even read it and I still couldn't say it.
Yeah, the shopping experience took a bit of time. Probably.
Are we talking a month or a year?
Probably
You look
about
like a researcher.
6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
6
Okay.
months before pulling the trigger.
Was it because your entry point was, I don't know what I'm looking at? Or was it because you had a long list of it must meet these requirements kind of thing?
Yeah, it had a check the box kind of thing.
Okay.
And that just met all the.
What was
checking
the
of the
runner-up?
box. I don't really know if there was one,
Oh, okay.
quite frankly.
Really,
I
just
mean,
that one won?
I think the Boreas XT really separates itself.
What does it do that the other trailers don't do?
Well, first of all, it's got this Cruise Master suspension from Australia, which is an independent
Say
suspension.
no more. No, wait.
along with the hitch that it has.
The 360 hitch?
Yeah, the 360 articulating hitch.
But
So-
a lot of other trailers have that, right?
But not that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And
I'm just trying to figure out.
I don't know that suspension, but there are a lot of independent suspensions coming up in the world. Maybe they weren't as prominent at that time.
Maybe not.
Maybe.
Yeah. But you think back of where did like overlanding begin, and you have to think Australia.
The Outback.
Right? The
That's got
Outback.
some cool factor
Yeah.
to it.
It has
to
cool
say
factor.
It was Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was
I
a
mean,
big
I guess
part of
that's
it.
true.
And the way that this trailer aligned with my truck, it's like perfect symmetry behind the truck. So basically, wherever I can go with my truck or Jeep,
You know the trailer fits.
it will go.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been up very narrow passes, but I can look in my mirrors, and if I got 3 inches, I can get by that rock, or I can go over it with that.
So for people who don't know what a Boreas XT is or have no concept, can you describe your trailer to us?
Sure. I mean, it's an off-grid trailer with incredible suspension, and it's pretty much turnkey as far as you've got a living space, you've got climate control, you've got storage.
How long
It's a
is it?
stainless
How
steel
big is
metal.
it?
It's a 16 foot, okay, by about 6 foot wide.
Okay.
And it's got your outdoor kitchen, and it's got the awnings and an outdoor shower. And the battery power is very good. I mean, I've been out for a month at a time with no shore power and never worried about not having enough energy.
Are you bringing solar with you to
It
top
does
off?
have a solar panel on top. Sure
works.
does.
One solar panel, and that
One
works
solar
for
panel.
you?
Yeah, a
What
100,
kind of-
100
100?
amp.
Wow.
And when you're driving, you'll get a little
Particularly with your
boost.
DC to DC
Yeah,
charger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it keeps everything charged.
Right.
A lot of people listening are saying, yeah, well, I've got a 16-foot trailer. And when I step into it, I've got all these things, but it isn't anything like yours. So what makes yours different than maybe a standard 16-foot trailer? Can you stand up in it?
No, you can't stand up.
Okay.
You got to learn to, be on your knees a little bit.
Okay.
I mean, it does carry 30 gallons of water.
that
which is
30 gallons of fresh water.
For that
fresh
size
water,
trailer.
which
Do
is
you
very-
like
no wonder you
crawl
went a
around
month.
on your knees, like to the bed?
A little bit. No, you just roll yourself in or step in with one knee,
Teardrop trailers
and then
kind
you're
of
good
space.
to go.
Okay. But
Yeah.
you don't cook inside.
No, you don't cook
I
inside.
feel like cooking, you'd need to stand up.
Yeah,
And for those of you who are wondering, there is no bathroom.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you had to
It
think
is-
about that for a second.
I mean, you got the 23-0, that goes around you, and you do have a private space.
So a 23-0, they make all kinds of things like awnings
Yes.
and tents, but also
brand.
So it's a brand, and they also have this bivvy, if you will,
Yeah.
that kind of folds out like an awning.
Yeah.
And so that's what you're.
and it's a circular. So you have privacy on four sides, and I'm throwing out some branding here because it's important to have good brands that
Sure,
you can.
sure, fair.
So like the Rapon toilet is very helpful.
I was going to ask you
Okay.
what you're.
Yeah.
So
I don't won't go into it unless you want
no,
me
no,
to.
no,
but
don't
it's-
go into it. It's fine.
Having it,
I hope you go into it.
Well, you do go into it, but
well, having the privacy and a toilet, and if you want your wife or other
to come along.
then they're more
Yeah.
comfortable than that versus the shovel.
So you were really prepared for this because you started with about a decade of motorcycle adventuring and camping off of your bike.
Correct.
Whereas a lot of people come into RVing in general from their house.
Living in a house.
Or an actual RV.
Right. And
a standard RV that you simply step in the door and it's like a mini house.
And that's the biggest things that we hear, that the biggest hurdles that people are like, I just can't move into the smaller trailer or the overland trailer area is, I don't want to cook outside because what if it rains? Yeah. What if? And
then it rains.
And then you starve.
Yeah.
Eat a granola bar
40
and
days
shut
and
up.
40 nights. And or I need an indoor bathroom. But the deal is this word need is funny.
Yeah.
Because you don't. Most of human history didn't have indoor plumbing.
So you didn't really have to learn how to camp small. You already knew.
Yeah, I knew because of
this was an up.
You're a minimalist.
Yeah, the minimalist from riding a bike.
What about heating and cooling?
Well, I'm fortunate in mine. I have a Propex heater in there and a Zero Breeze little air conditioning unit.
And for that space, it's fine.
It's a small unit, and then I got the Air Max, and you just turn it opposite spin and open up your little windows. It brings the air in.
Yeah.
So an Air Max is a high-powered fan in the roof.
Yeah. So a lot of times I don't even need to put the air conditioning on unless it's 105 and you're in Texas. And
I was gonna say,
that's why you go
But
to the
it does
mountains.
start with TX. So if you're in Texas, 90 days between 100 and 110 this summer.
Yeah.
It was brutal.
That was tough.
But that's another thing is you find yourself. This is what I do in the summertime whenever possible. If it's summertime camping, and I'm from Texas and I love camping in Texas, summertime camping, I find a higher latitude and a higher altitude.
Yes.
And I think that's oftentimes what you find.
Oh, yeah. You go for the elevation.
Sure.
Yeah.
Did you have to convince your fiance to go camping with you, or is she down?
Oh, my wife of 37 years.
Oh, your wife. Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you said fiance.
Still honeymooning. That's.
I thought earlier he said fiance.
They haven't hit 40 years yet.
I
it's
thought
still a
earlier
honeymoon.
he said fiance.
I was talking about the toilet. If your wife, partner, fiance, whoever you want.
I'm sorry. Did
we
you have
all
to
missed
convince
that.
your wife to go camping?
No, I mean, I pretty much go, and she joins me on occasion.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she's thrilled about that, or any trepidation?
She shows up.
You wear orange. That's part of the safety. You have to have your safety. I got the Zoleo satellite, so I can drop cookies along the way and keep in touch.
So you can see your the last place he checked in. He can
Cookies?
Well, yeah, not edible, not
edibles.
Kind of like old websites had breadcrumbs.
Breadcrumbs. That's it. It's not
A
cookies.
digital locator.
Yeah,
Digital
They
locator.
should call him something else.
They should.
Yeah, because now I'm hungry.
I mean, there's definitely some trepidation there at times, but I try to work within the safety margin,
Right.
while still going further and pushing it just a bit.
So when you said, "Hey, sweetie, I think I want to buy a trailer. My bike's getting a little more than I want to handle." I imagine there was some relief from getting you off a bike in the backwoods, but did she say, "Great, buy a trailer"? I mean, what was the initial reaction here?
I think she was excited that I was even thinking about doing it.
Really?
Just the thought process of, are you really going to do this? Which most times in my life, when I think I'm going to do something, I do follow through. So I think she got on board with the exploration of the whole experience of actually going through the buying process and then having some of the initial experiences, and now to where there's a community and there's people and there's friends that I have on the trail and online that I can visit with and meet up with. And so it's
It means so
become
much to have a community.
It's become a whole nother avenue.
Were you retired by then?
Yes.
So my experience is that she probably needed you to find an adventure.
Maybe.
Maybe.
So we heard about the trailer.
Get on to the important stuff, Lindsay.
Dogs. Tell me about the doggos.
My two dogs, Duke and Lacy.
Those are like the most overlanding dog names ever.
I know.
Right?
Totally.
Not just Overland, the Texas
Yeah.
overlanding.
Duke and Lacy.
Duke and Lacy.
They're American purebred yellow labs. They have the same father,
Wow.
Gus. And so when I had Duke, he's about 80 pounds. I was talking to the breeder and I said, man, I would love to have a fox red female. If you breed Gus with a fox red female and have a litter, then I would get another dog from you. That way you could have the two pups and they could play. The breeder said, well, I don't know. I might do that in a couple years, 2-3 years. Well, within 6 months, she called me and said, I've got a litter of fox reds coming.
Oh,
so I was first on the list and picked up Lacy. And
which one's the good dog?
Well, the more chill dog is Duke. Lacy is, I mean, she's nonstop. We get up and
you named her Lacy, so
she runs all day long.
What are their ages now? What are they?
They're both 2 and 2.5.
2.5. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh man, what is their favorite part about camping? Do you just let them run?
It's their best life.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about with dogs and you have to go to these places where they have to be on leash, you know, and you're picking up their poop and stuff behind them and all that.
Dogs hate it.
Yeah.
Okay, you get them out in the back country and it's like,
Overland.
just go.
Uh-huh.
And they're very well trained. They're waterfowl dogs too, so I hunt with them. But one blow of the whistle, they're coming back.
I was about to say, how do you call them back? What's your call?
Just blow the whistle. Yeah. And we go play ball and frisbee, and they're water dogs. I always try to be around a lake or a river wherever I stop. So it's awesome.
You think I can train Everett like that?
No.
Take him BLM land?
No.
Just let him off the leash?
Also, don't
whistle him
put
back?
a
Like
shot
this
collar
morning
on.
when I left to come here in my
stop that.
truck this morning, they were like going crazy. Like, hey, where are you going without us? You know, because they've got their gunner kennels in the back of the truck, and that's their home. So
Yeah.
home away from home. Yeah. They're sweethearts.
What-
It's been a real blessing.
Have you had like any unexpected struggles camping with dogs, like farts in the middle of the night,
Yeah.
or like them eating something they're not supposed to, or
Rolling around on a dead something.
Yeah.
Found a
and
snake.
You know,
skunks.
I mean, fortunately, I mean, they don't sleep with me in the camper because they've got their own kennels, the gunner kennels. And those kennels are good down to, you can be in the 20s and they're still warm in those kennels. And you can be up in the 90s and they're doing fine.
Right.
As far as unexpected things is they tend to go a little hard sometimes. And like one time I was on the top of Cumberland Mountain outside of Gunnison,
Yeah.
Colorado.
I love that part of
and
Colorado.
A child
like
was
to fish.
there and they were throwing a Frisbee and it went over the mountain. And so Lacy decided she was going to try to catch it. And I saw that out of the corner of my eye and she's sliding down the still snow-covered mountain.
Yeah.
stop.
So it was pretty scary. No. Fortunately, I was able to grab her. And so
Did she learn her lesson?
so you have to think about safety, not only for their going so hard and
Right.
swimming hard or hurting their paws on various rocks and stuff.
Do they
but
have
also
orange
the,
vests?
The wildlife you have to be aware of too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they have little orange vests they
No
wear?
vests. They've got orange collars. though.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
Good
yeah,
enough.
Yeah.
I'll allow it.
Yeah. But they're a ball. I mean, it's a thrill having them along.
Are you a 2-dog person? Thinking about a third?
Not a third.
Okay.
2's enough.
Okay. Yeah.
Two's a lot.
I agree.
I question myself sometimes on the 2, but now that they're pretty well trained, I mean, and they're a lot more chill when they need to be, and they're responsive to the commands, it's doable. Yeah.
And they have each other,
Yes.
you know, and that's good.
But occasionally, my wife recently has been saying, why don't you leave Duke here and just take Lacy?
Aww.
She misses
Bring the
them.
company.
So it's the companionship. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
So, what about the community that you found doing this? Because I saw that you were recently in your Instagram feed, you were traveling with another Texas-based Overlander, also with a Boreas trailer.
That's
I
right.
think. And not just that, you were at the various overlanding expos. I was at Flagstaff. We just didn't cross paths.
There you go. How about that?
And that weather change was significant.
Yes. Isn't that something?
It was cold and wet.
Storm rolled over the mountain real
it did.
fast.
But you got into this and you developed a community. You mentioned friends and all that. Tell us about the community of Overland.
Tell us about friends.
Well, I'll mention.
Because I need
Do
one or
you
two.
have some? We need some.
Can you share some?
I'll mention Texas X-Lander Scott Williford has had a big influence on me.
Okay.
He had been doing it longer. He's an ambassador with the Boreas XT. I actually went to his home before I bought and looked at his camper, and I said, man, I'm in. He said, well, get packed up because when I call, you got to be ready. And that's how it's rolled out. So we've been on several adventures together.
and that's how it works. He calls and you roll out.
One or the other calls, and we're packed and ready to go at any time. You just keep the campers
cool.
plugged in. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It's
But-
Clint's dream life.
Yeah.
It so is.
The community though is you know, it's a very respectful community where they care about the land. You know, you you tread lightly.
Yeah.
And, we're aware of like pollution and things like that bother us, but we go out and we do community service things where we pick up trash. We help with the Forest Service people. We want to keep the trails open. So we're very respectful of that. And that's how we tread lightly and,
if you want to keep doing it, you have to have that mindset.
I feel like overlanders are it's just not like this party group of campers to like, no, it's
no, it's not that.
How can we make things better?
Yeah.
I mean,
when you're out there hearing the bugle of a moose or something, you're not
elk. An elk wake you up. Those things are so cool.
Yeah.
All right, what's the scariest animal you've seen while you were camping?
Probably bear in the distance.
Saw a bear?
Yeah.
Did you say hi?
You just go about your business, but you keep an eye on them.
Don't offer him.
Did the dogs go crazy?
I put them in their kennel when I saw the bear, and
because they probably would.
You do have a firearm, you do have your bear spray, and you're trying to be ready.
Because you never know.
You never know.
What kind of bear was it?
A black bear.
A black bear?
Yeah.
God, I just want to hug one so bad.
Well, they're making the
I
comeback
wouldn't
in
do
Texas.
that, Lindsay.
So bad. I just want to hug
that.
Yeah.
Just feed it some fentanyl and go for it.
Oh no.
Oh, you guys, stop.
So what's
that particular bear was in Montana that time? Yeah.
What's a typical trip kind of duration and drive kind of distance and all that? Is there a typical?
I think a typical is probably 2,500 miles or so.
Wow.
But it takes 700 miles to get out of Texas.
Right.
Right.
Every time.
We are right smack dab in the middle.
And
Depends on how many Buc-ee's you stop at.
Yeah. But I would say probably around 25 to 3,000 miles.
Yeah. And you're generally out for kind of how long? What's your window? How long do you get?
2 weeks or more. Okay. I'm never called home.
Yeah.
But I prepare to be out a month if I need to be.
Yeah.
But I would say 2 weeks is about timeline.
Is your wife still working?
She is.
Okay. So when she says done with that, you think she'll join you on more of these?
I think she will come along more. Yeah. What she likes for me to do is I go and find like some of these really awesome places where there's no people and I'm like, man, this is a great setup. And then she'll say, come on and get me. And then we'll hang for a couple of nights.
And the kids?
My kids are grown. Yeah. My daughter's into it. Yeah. She's a hiker. Mm-hmm.
Love it.
Yeah.
It's the dream. It is.
Clint's all like,
yeah, he is like so into
I see
this.
my future.
Let me go.
It's not for everybody, like you said, people that want to cook inside or these kind of things. But when you realize, like when you live out of that little box for a month and you've worn the same 2 pair of trousers for a month.
Yeah.
And maybe 3 pair of socks.
They're finally broken in.
I mean, you realize you don't need much.
That's right.
It's true.
So if you're worried about or complaining about, I mean, go live in a box for a month and get along with it.
You figure out what's important.
And you'll figure it out. Yeah. And it's the experience and the things that you see that keep you going back. It makes you want to go around that next corner and go, let's go a little further. We're not ready to set camp yet.
But so many people will hear that and think, that sounds like torture. It sounds miserable to be out there and wearing the same handful of clothes for a month. And I mean, why would I put myself through that?
Who are you trying to impress?
So, well, it's not that. It's just that to a lot of people, that will sound like the worst tragedy ever. And, when you put the spin on it of being out there in the middle of nowhere, I think there is a whole new perspective on the world, who you are, your place in it, all of those things shift if you can power through a different concept of living.
I always feel like you need to get that first day or two of being away from the hustle and bustle before your mind shifts into its correct gear.
Oh, yeah. For me, sometimes it's 3 days or more.
Yeah, it does take a few days to kind of acclimate. But it's a whole different life experience.
Yeah.
When you're on I-35 here in Austin area in traffic.
Watch your mouth.
It's like, you think camping out in the woods by yourself or with some buddies, is difficult. Sitting in that traffic is what.
That's difficult.
That's difficult.
Well, there's so many people who can't be by themselves.
Right.
I mean, they're just not used to it. There is no opportunity for that in our world. So I think it sounds kind of amazing.
If you have an
real
adventure
learning.
spirit and you were interested in some solitude and serenity and seeing some things that you might normally not have an opportunity to see, it's
Well, what have you
Yeah.
learned about yourself doing this kind of
you
stuff?
know, there's a lot of self-discovery, as a matter of fact, especially when you break down and you need to think about, okay, how am I going to get this fixed? I think what you learn about yourself is that you can do it.
Yeah.
I mean, when you have to do it.
Yeah.
Like, I almost lost my camper off of a mountain one time.
Ooh, tell us what happened.
Well, I was going up, I was in Wyoming, and I was heading over to Montana, and I was way out there and looking at my Gaia GPS, and I noticed, man, this trail is getting pretty narrow. You know, it starts to change color, which means this is no longer like a 2-track. This is probably a single track.
Yeah.
So I better turn around before I get to there
may not
while I
be so
still
easy.
can. So I found a pretty big spot in the cutout of the mountain, started making my maneuvers, got the camper in a certain way, and I put some chocks in it and set the brake. I unhooked it from the truck.
Oh.
I thought, I think we're okay.
Oh.
The minute I left the camper, I started walking to my truck so I could reposition my truck and hook up again and then go back down. It started sliding. And it kicked out.
Just a friction slide, not
Yeah,
rolling at all,
yeah.
just a slide.
Right. Started moving. And then I'm like, holy crap. I went, and a 2,000-pound camper, it started getting momentum and started going toward the mountain. So I was able to get in front of the hitch
Okay.
and give it a little push and redirected it. But then it went crashing into the mountain, into a gulch.
Better than off the mountain?
Better than off the
Yeah,
mountain,
yeah.
because I was able to recover from it. I'd gotten a pretty good gash out of my leg, but we did a little first aid, and then I had a winch, and I was able to winch it and reposition it, and it took about 2 hours.
Yeah.
But you're out there by yourself, and you just have to do it.
You got to figure it out.
And so there you go.
or you could abandon your trailer.
Yeah, you could have started walking.
Well, you still had a car, didn't you?
I did have the car. That's true.
I mean, you
Yeah.
could just
You could
Or you
abandon
could just leave the car too and just walk.
You could start walking.
You could start
But
walking.
It seems like driving would be better.
Yeah.
But still, yeah, you
Incidents like that,
You
or
have
when
to
you're
figure it
like
out.
one time we were on a pretty difficult trail, and this was before I got my method race wheels, you know, and a really nice Kenda Clever MT2 tire with a 5-ply side.
Purpose built.
We were on this rocky road or this trail, and the rim got bent a little on the outside and put a puncture into the sidewall.
Yeah.
So as I'm going along at 20 miles an hour, suddenly I'm like, this doesn't feel right. And I look back and it's like,
squishy.
it's sliding, you know?
yeah.
So that was one of those situations where, I know I've got, my jack, but the jack really wasn't tall enough because of where the angle was. So I had to put some blocks. Fortunately, I had a couple of wood blocks. And I made it by about that much getting that tire off,
Wow.
But
So-
it's moments like that that
Yeah.
you have to, put your gumption in and say, okay, we've got to figure this out because there's nobody here to help you.
So how many pieces of gear did you buy after you needed them? Like
You learn by
upgrade
doing
tires,
quite a
upgrade
few.
wheels, maybe a high lift jack.
Quite a few.
Yeah, you're like, you know what?
Yeah.
The right tool wasn't
Worth
with
it.
me.
Yeah.
And you know what
You
I
learn.
think about when I hear that story is so many people, say, yeah, man, I got method wheels, and I'm like, they really are useful. They really are stronger. They really are a better piece of equipment. And they kind of get billed a lot of times as being, showy.
Right.
And,
Just a way to spend money. Well, it's
Yeah.
all in how you use it.
but if you're using it, those things become
Right.
really
They actually can be a
life-saving
lifesaver.
piece
They
of gear.
really can.
Yeah, so
Your
it's
gear-
not just show off.
You're only as good out there as your weakest piece of gear.
Right.
And that's the one that'll get you.
That's
you know what I'm saying?
Every time.
So when you have these experiences, you're like, I'm not going to do that again. You got to get the
yeah,
upgrade.
I want the upgrade.
Yeah.
So what if somebody listening is saying, okay, like I'm going to do this. I want to go out in the middle of nowhere. Where would you point them to first to kind of gain their own community or?
Instagram, Texas K-9 Overland.
That would help.
All right. I like
That would definitely be
I've
inspiring.
never heard of that.
There's quite a few stories and reels and posts on there that would help, but I would start with YouTube. I would go to overlandexpo.com and just get involved in the community from like a digital perspective. But you'll be surprised at the comments that you would get back. Ask a lot of questions. You know, I wouldn't dive in and go up to 11,000 feet in the
Please
backwoods first time, because you're probably going to get in trouble.
Yeah,
you really need to gain some experience and learn about yourself and your capabilities of who you are as a person and from your gear.
And there's a lot of overland meetups that are like local, like all over the country. Figure out, you know, which one is close to you. And well, I might not be ready to take my trailer up the mountain, but can I come camp next to you guys?
Well, even you and I, we've been to the Texas Avid Outdoors.
There you go.
I thought you were going to talk about that off-grid camping trip that we took that I wish you would stop talking about.
I can't, because that was funny, but I won't bring it up this time. And then I think there's another one in Houston that just got started and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of local community.
Well, I know that you were saying you connected with the ambassador from Boreas.
Correct.
And that was kind of your side-by-side learning. And that's what I think most people wish they had.
A little bit of mentorship, maybe?
Yeah, somebody who say, hey, can I camp with you? Can I hang out with you? That's tough to do, but if you connect with these communities and show up there. And
that's the word. You got to show up.
Yeah.
Like if you're wanting to do this, and the more you do it, the more you're going to enjoy it, because the more involvement you have, the more people you get to know, it just makes it better. But you know, it's like anything, you got to stick with it. You got to keep showing up.
Right.
Give it 3 years.
Yeah.
Just
it's
show
so much
up.
better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, I tried it once and I didn't like it. Probably, you know, need a little bit more effort than that.
Yeah. I mean, if you had a horrible first experience, that might deter you, but that's why you got to kind of know your boundaries and don't go out and get in trouble the first time. Yeah.
A weekend off the grid in a field somewhere near your house may not be enough to really understand the adventure. Yeah. So, you know, you kind of got to
adventure, like you said, is the reels on Texas K-9 Overland. Because when you see the expanse, like when you're in Wyoming,
particularly with the music that's always ringing.
Oh, the music! You like my music?
The background of your reels. I'm like, is that always playing out where he goes?
It's just my music. I grew up with it.
That's right. That's right. When I went through your Instagram, I was like, well, I know how old Tyler is.
You know, don't you?
I can tell by the music.
It's very telling. Right.
Yeah. Well, you know, we're probably very close here.
Yes.
So one of the things that I don't want to let you leave without hearing is your favorite destinations. You know, you've been to some cool places. Tell me about some of the coolest places you have been where you spent a few days or a week or just enjoyed the amazing solitude.
Yeah, you know, the Bitterroot National Forest area in Montana.
I do not know that. Where is it?
Well, near Darby, where Yellowstone was filmed with Kevin Costner, is just incredible, because you can be in Montana and Idaho within about 20 miles of one or the other. And the lushness there is just incredible. The virgin trees, the timber, the ponderosa pines.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, your eyes are lighting up.
Oh yeah, I get chills. But like, you're there in that river and you're in solitude, and you're thinking, there's probably a bear looking at me, but that's okay. I'm going to sit here and enjoy this with my pups and just take it in. Yeah. And that was a spot that I stayed for many days. And would excursion from there and kind of push the boundary and then go, I'm getting a little too far out, because at one point I detached from my camper and said, I'm just going to go. But then I didn't have my survival gear, and I'm like, I'm about 25 miles out. I better get back, because it's getting late, it's getting cold. So, you know, that's the kind of situation.
Yeah, you learn a different way to think too. Most of us don't think 25 miles. And what it could mean for survival.
Oh, yeah.
So you're really flexing some really, I mean, this is survival stuff that eons of humans had to think like. Our brains actually function well in that respect. It makes us invigorated, makes us alive. And yet we're kind of dull in that area in the past 100-something.
When you're looking at like your GPS, or you're using Gaia, you have to understand the scale. Because if you're on your phone, you're thinking, oh, that's not that far. Well, it's far.
Yeah.
You know,
It's only 1 inch.
That 1 inch. I mean, that could be a life or death situation.
Right. And it could be an all day.
Yeah, it's all day.
All day 1 mile.
Yeah, people might say, well, you only went 20 miles today. Well, yeah. I mean, we're doing 2 or 3 miles an hour at times. I mean, because you're rock clawing and different things, getting places.
Okay, so I want to come back to destinations
Sure.
because we only hit one, and I'm sure there's more. But when you're talking about life or death situations, to a lot of people, that's going to sound pretty darn dramatic. And you say you get away from your safety gear and your life-saving gear. What are you exactly talking about here?
Well, to give you an example, I was in the Wet Mountain Valley in Colorado, and I'd gone out for a hike away from my rig. And I was in a short sleeve shirt and didn't even take my gun or bear spray. And I almost felt like I got lost at one point. And
That's a sinking
and I'm
feeling.
like, I can't see the sun. There's such dense foliage in this wilderness. I kind of got turned around.
Yeah.
And I thought, all right, be calm, take a seat, bring the dogs, and just ponder this for a minute. My legs were starting to shake because I was getting tired. And I said, okay, it's going to be really cold here in about an hour and a half.
Right.
And so you're starting to think, what would I do for warmth? You know,
Right.
Would the dogs be of help? You know, can you find your way back? Fortunately, I was able to find my way back, but it taught me a valuable lesson. Even if you're going on that short walk, you want to have your backup gear.
Right.
Because you have to think what could happen 2 or 3 hours from now. It could be a fall.
Yeah.
You twist your ankle, you can't get out. You could freeze. You got to have the clothing. It could be an animal. So there's those things that you have to prepare for. Always carrying your knife. There are certain things like that you don't think about or need necessarily in an urban environment.
I think everybody is used to kind of being the boss and in charge in our world. Like,
Yeah, but out there, nature
But
is.
out there, I think it's hard for some people to realize that, like, out there, it's not. It's different. Anything could happen at any moment, and it's not. You don't have control over that stuff, so you have to be prepared.
It's Mother Nature.
Yeah.
But it's also very freeing.
And
Yeah,
also,
you're
control.
just this little speck in this big forest,
Yeah.
and
as long as you stick to the basics, where you have your hydration and you have a way to keep warm and a way to protect yourself. That's pretty much
I was
it.
kind of thinking, there's a lot of skills involved that you're mentioning that you're kind of either you have them or you start to figure out that I need to build this skill and all that, the way you think, the way you approach first aid situations, the way you approach rescuing a trailer. I mean, I'm thinking that the Overland Expos and get-togethers are some of the best place to get real hands-on training and input. And I do love me some YouTube. But it's not the same thing as there. Even down to the smell of the situation.
Yes. Yes. Attending those expos is phenomenal. The speakers, the classes
Because
that you can go
skills
to.
will save you.
The fellowship.
Or just make it more fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Make you feel
I should
capable.
give a shout out to Ozark Overland Adventures.
Okay.
Ozark.
Yeah.
Where are they based out of?
He's out of
That's my
Arkansas.
Would be.
Yeah. Yeah, he's another person. He's a lot of the influence when they're doing their thing, and they say this inspires one person. Well, those people, I'm that one person.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm like,
right.
I like what I'm seeing. I like where they're going. I feel this community pulling me, and so they did inspire me. And then I just took the steps, and now I'd say I'm part of the community.
So baseline skills, would you say some first aid training?
Oh yeah, first aid training.
Any other kind of baseline?
You need to be able to make a fire when it's wet.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have the tools. You need to be able to be warm when it's freezing.
Can you make a
need
fire
to
with
be
2
able to-
sticks?
You need to be able to be dry when it's wet.
Yeah.
Some of
Yeah.
those basic elements that you're exposed to, and you're exposed to them all day, and they can be unrelenting.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Well, the most that so many people are exposed to in this realm is like an episode of Survivor. So it all sounds treacherous. It all sounds awful. And what you're saying is that being out there, if you're prepared,
Yeah.
the beauty and the wonder is well worth I don't know, learning to be self-sufficient to some degree.
Yeah, I give a shout out to Texas Xlander. There is no such thing as bad weather, just bad.
Oh, okay.
Just bad clothing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Well, that is
those
a smart
inspirational little nuggets that you get from people who've done it longer and have gone further. You learn from that and you pick up on it, and it keeps you.
That Walmart jacket probably is not going to be
gonna
what you
cut
want.
it.
I want to know what your favorite spot is in Texas, since Texas is not known for its free overlanding.
He's going to say like any of the number of "you're now leaving Texas" signs.
That 700-mile marker.
I mean, Big Bend and Terlingua
Yes.
is pretty awesome.
It's pretty fabulous.
Christmas Mountain, if you've never done it, which I
Yes.
have by myself. I got the permit.
Wow.
It's very challenging. I mean, it's almost 5,000 feet, very big rocks, very sharp switchbacks. So that's definitely a challenge. But where I hang out is near Regency, Texas, which
I
is
have no idea where that is.
Well, it's one of the last swinging bridges in the state over the Colorado River.
Cool.
It's north of San Saba. And
Swinging
That's-
bridges, like
That's not far.
it's not. It's 100 miles.
what's a swinging bridge? Like
Well,
a bridge that
You-
droops?
Yeah, it droops. And it's held by guy wire.
Cool.
And back
That's a day
in
trip
when
from
George Bush was our president, he was actually out there when they built it, refurbished it to make it a useful thing. Yeah.
And I have actually been on that bridge.
Can you swing
There's
on it?
pictures
Can
of
you
us
push
on
it?
that bridge.
Or is that like a no-no?
No, when you walk on it, it moves.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
And when
is
you
so cool.
and when you drive on it,
Just so cool.
it moves.
Drive on it?
Oh, you drive
Yes.
over it.
Yes, it's a bridge.
It'll handle. It handles like
Yeah.
What you're doing this
5,000 pounds, something like that.
I tell you what, I came home and total side note, so I'll make it quick. I came home and Richard said, "So I booked us a weekend in San Saba," and I'm like, "What?
Right.
Okay, all right. I will suffer through this."
Right.
And it was one of the best
Yes.
weekends.
That's a good
There is
area.
so many cool things to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's tiny. We got there at 8:00. All the restaurants were closed. That was interesting. It was Sunday night. We ate what we could grab at the convenience
Practice
store.
their survival skills.
But past there, there's so many cool things to see, and that bridge was one of them. And I don't know.
Stay at the Dolphinmeyer Hotel when you're there. Or go to Mill Pond. It's a beautiful
Yes.
lake that you can go and walk along the river.
All
See
kinds
dogs
of
again.
great things there.
You got the ducks and everything, and it's a part of a ranching farming community.
Yes.
With that about 30 square miles around you, there's nothing but
Yes.
ranch country. Black
So-
Angus.
That brings me to say,
And those are a lot of good roads, good beginner roads for people to drive on and
that's
get
what
out.
I was
Okay.
going to
Yeah.
say. Yeah, if
Yeah.
you want to learn how to camp by yourself, how to be outdoors, how to connect in this way, we all think it has to be some epic adventure, which is cool. But San Saba's an hour from here.
Start small. Go to Colorado Bend State Park.
Yes.
An
can get
hour
lost there.
from wherever you are, there is going to be some place where you can get away, see those outdoor things, camp in a way that you are not connected to the grid and connected to people.
Yep.
It's right there next to you. Start there and try it.
And the thing is, you forget that when you're in this
Yes.
environment.
You
and that's
do.
what the beauty is of being out there, to know that, guess what? It's still out there.
It didn't
And that's
go
what's so
anywhere.
Yes.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yes.
When you come over a pass and all you see is the humps of the mountains, and you're like, I'm going there. And then you just navigate to
And
it,
you get
and
there.
you're there, and you're like, it's still here, and there's nothing around you, and there's no pollution.
And how to do that is easy to learn if you connect to some people who are
Yes.
who are
There's a
good at
lot
it.
of tools and a lot of people, and there's a lot of support.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we will look at some links and we'll put them in our notes that will give people some jump off points, people to connect to. And the other thing that I found in this community is if you just text somebody, email them, or call them up, they're glad to talk to
They're
you.
already
Even if
excited.
they have
Tap into
no
it.
idea who you are. They'll say, hey, man, yeah, well, I'm going to be here. Come on
PJ
down.
does not advocate calling strangers, by the way.
Oh, I do on this. I say,
They don't know you. Just pick a number. Call them.
If you
Connect
get
with
involved
people.
with Patreon and support some of these influencers through their Patreon, they'll provide their GPS mapping.
Yeah.
some of their favorite spots.
And some do
places that-
meetups and
Yeah.
what have you.
So what's next for you? What's your next big trip?
Thank you for asking. My
Oh, you're
next
welcome.
big trip is going to be, I'm going up through Idaho next year.
Potatoes.
What'd you call me?
Idaho. We're going to go Idaho up through Montana to Glacier National Park. And then also next summer I'm doing Oregon, the Pacific Northwest. So those are the two biggies coming up in 2024.
Well, those are two amazing
They're
places,
huge.
no matter what you're camping
So if you
in.
see a dark gray 2020 F-150 in your rear view, you can't shake them. Don't worry about it.
It's you.
Well, y'all be sure to go check out TX K-9 Overland, Texas K-9 Overland, and then we can go with you to those amazing places.
Ooh, and let's schedule another off-grid camp out for Lindsay, and let's just have Tyler and his dogs come along.
Oh, that'd be great. I'll bring
Teach Lindsay how to use the heater.
I'll bring the dogs next time for sure.
Will you?
Yeah, it'll
Will
be
you come
fun.
camp with us if we have a kind of a getaway?
I'd love to.
All right.
Be great.
We gotta
Very
get on
cool.
schedule though.
All right. Well, that's your
That's
job.
the hardest
Yeah.
part.
I just show up. You know that.
Well, Tyler, this has been fantastic.
I think so too. It's been a lot of
Good.
fun. Thanks for having me.
Let's do this again, and we'll get some of these skills. And maybe we'll have you evaluate us on.
Yeah.
How's my fire? That's a candle.
That is a candle.
Yeah. It gets worse as the day goes
you
on.
might have seen one of my recent reels about a campfire that I had. I was out on a.
I didn't. No.
Look for it.
Well, now
Tell
we
us
have
about
to
it.
go.
Yeah.
You got to look at it.
All right.
It was somewhat of a parody because the campfire is about 12 feet.
Oh,
high,
it's a
so-
bonfire.
Whoa.
All right.
Whoa.
But I called it a campfire, and yeah.
Can you shut off this recording so we can go watch the reel?
Yeah.
Thanks.
There you go.
Everybody, you can catch the show notes for this episode at rvsmalltalk.com. You can catch up with Tyler and his puppers at texask9overland.com. But really, if you want to see the action, go check out the Instagram and the reels there, because that's where you get to see the sights, hear the sounds, and really kind of experience. It's a little bit more immersive that way. And that's pretty much it, unless y'all have something else. No?
Just
Instagram is immersive.
Well, more so than other. I'm gonna hand
It
tell you something.
depends on what handle you're on.
all right. We're walking away right now.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.